Hey, welcome everybody to the Investing or Gambling Podcast. I am your host. It's been a while, folks. Ileana Mike, and I'm back with my good old co-host and now probably podcast guy that's going to be with me back again. Bitcoin for President Golf Winch. How are you doing?
Doing well.
All right, we got the Golf Winch. But real quick, folks, since this is a investing or gambling podcast, we'll go right to the investing part of it. Dow Jones Industrial Average is sitting at 35,369. The S&P 500 is 4,535, and the NASDAQ is at 15,363. The Russell, 2295. I've got some things I'd like to talk about real quick about the market. We've got cryptocurrency. We've got Bitcoin sitting at 51,723. The second place winner is Ethereum with 3,939. And we won't mention any other coins on here because they're pretty much all garbage anyways. But we've got the 10-year bond at 132. Hey, let's get right to the show, folks.
Gold. What about gold?
Gold. Oh, we got gold is going. Gold is doing really well. Gold and silver. Gold at $1,825 a troy ounce, and silver $24.75.
Wow.
And the dollar is starting to, starting to wane here. It looked like the dollar went down probably big time last week. Went from 93 to 92 something, almost 91. Which means it lost another buck. It's like, it's only worth about 90 cents. And then if you put in inflation, but let's get right to the jobs report that came out on Friday, a dismal 275,000 jobs. They weren't created. Those were people that came back to work. There has been no jobs created. If anybody really wants to think of that, there's been no organic growth in this country for the past 18 months. Anybody that wants to argue with that, you can come on the show and talk to me about it, but there isn't any. We've got a Fed that's completely out of control, that is more worried about unemployment than they are inflation. And we've got inflation that's topping about 5.5% on all levels everywhere, whether it's energy, whether it's housing's out of control. Housing's up 30, 40% in a year. We just left the grocery store. Okay. Now, I'm not kidding you when I tell you that chicken is now almost $4 a pound. Okay. I'm not kidding you when I tell you that a dozen of eggs, okay, is looking at almost $4 for a dozen of eggs. So, and I've noticed also that some shelves are empty. And it's really kind of weird because it depends. I think we're starting to have, I think we're having some type of transportation issues and logistics, bringing food to stores and everything else. I think these truckers are starting to, I don't think we have enough of them. And
I think that you're having labor shortages to stock the shelves.
Oh, yes, that's true.
That's, I think, the problem there. But yeah, I think that trucker thing is gonna come too.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna tell you what, I don't understand. We've got the unemployment benefits supposedly wearing off now that you don't get the $300 extra, but the wage increases are up. Wages, let's put it this way, the average hourly wage in the United States has now topped $27 an hour. That's the average hourly wage. Okay. So nobody's going to tell me that all these corporations and all these small businesses are going to hurt big time because of wage inflation. And that has got to start tapping into their margins at some point. I mean, it really does. So,
yeah.
And that, I believe, is the biggest fear that I have as far as this inflation not being transitory, which I don't believe one bit of it's transitory. And I don't know about your neck of the woods, but my neck of the woods, we don't have any new cars around here. There's very few. I go down I-80, which is a stretch, okay, through the hub of the United States, right through the heart of the Midwest. And I see car carriers out there and they don't have new cars on them. They've got used cars on them. So I'm telling you right now, I just don't see it. I just don't
Yeah,
see it.
I'm gonna have an interesting. Well, let's talk about tomorrow. Do you know what tomorrow is?
Tomorrow is September 7th.
Yes. Do you know what happens tomorrow?
Let me guess. El Salvador comes online with Bitcoin.
You got it.
Hey.
You got it.
All right. Okay. Tell us a little bit more about that real quick, because I don't know if that's relevant. I don't believe El Salvador is that relevant to Bitcoin. I really don't. I think people are buying Bitcoin right now as a hedge against inflation, as they should gold and as they should silver.
Well, you're not seeing it as a currency. That's why.
Mhm.
You're seeing it more as an investment to
I am.
protect yourself against currency inflation.
Yeah.
What I see is this being the currency of the world, that not only banks, corporations, individuals, it's going to flatten the whole playing field, because it's just like LimeWire, peer-to-peer music sharing. This is money made for the person to trade with another person, just like any corporation, government entity, institutional entity. Anyone can open their own Bitcoin wallet and participate in the financial revolution, basically.
Yeah.
So anyone, any single person of those 6 million people, whether they're an MS-13 gang member, which was a gang that was set up to protect themselves against our US government bureaucracies that were killing their people. It's gangs are created to survive.
Yeah.
They're not created to manipulate other people. Gangs come out of survival.
Yeah.
That's all they are. So, criticize the gang all you want, but it's basically a band of people committing to each other and being loyal to each other to protect each other.
Yeah.
It's nothing other than that.
Right. Not that we condone that.
Well, gangs don't kill people. They kill. I mean,
they kill each other.
They don't kill like random people. They don't go after like.
Not here in Chicago. They don't. They kill a lot of random people.
Well,
their bullets getting away.
People are usually out doing something that gets in the way of them. They don't seek out random people. They're not just like thugs killing people. There's always a story to the killing. It's not like they're just branching out.
What would you say about what would you say about the 12-year-olds or 8-year-old kids or even infants that are getting shot?
They're getting caught in the crossfires of a war. But that's going to happen if you're fighting against a government, a tyrannical government. We've seen it in Afghanistan. Yeah. Everyone has saw or I don't know if you have seen, but the Julian Assange, why he's being locked up is because that video, well, I don't know, it could be a lot of things, but what was that, Chelsea Manning that released that video?
Yeah, I believe so.
Have you seen the video of the U.S. soldiers gunning down that boy and his dad?
No.
Oh, you got to see that. That's a disturbing. And then it's not even what happens. It almost looks like a video game, but real life video game, because it's video footage. And then the rhetoric afterwards, or what they say afterwards, the U.S. soldiers were like, should have brought his son to a gunfight or something, while they're sitting up in a helicopter shooting these people. I mean, it makes no sense. It's sickening. Right. And it's disturbing to see our U.S. citizens, soldiers, or kids, basically, doing things they shouldn't be doing because evil people are telling them to do things.
Well, here's what I've been trying to explain to people, too, when they ask me about the dollar. I always tell them the reason why the dollar is the world's reserve currency is because it's not that it's backed by anything other than strength of our military, strength in our government, strength that we can, that the dollar, the United States of America, can defend itself from any foreign entity and help other countries defend themselves from their enemies. Okay. So this is why the US dollar is the reserve currency of the world. But if the world starts to lose confidence in our strength and in our military, they will revert to other currencies, such as China. Because if China and Russia team up together and they become the world superpower when it becomes military, I'm not talking economics. It's got nothing to do with economics, nothing to do with it. It's got nothing to do with anybody's GDP or anything else. It has a lot to do with the fact that we print all we want, knowing that everyone wants to buy it. But when they
I don't think all those people, all those countries you just mentioned are in cahoots.
Well, yeah.
Ever since the Bretton Woods 1971, SDRs rule the roost. They're at the top of the pyramid. Yeah. Special drawing rights. So basically, it's a basket of these currencies.
Right.
Anyone involved, it's basically the Federal Reserve and everyone who's playing in their world. And this strips them of it usurps all their power. This Bitcoin stuff.
Yes, it does. It does.
It totally eliminates money and state attachment. I mean, money and state should, just like religion and state, should have never been combined. Money and state should have never been combined, and wasn't. 1776, there was no money control. Government didn't control your money.
No.
That's just crazy. And that happened in 1913 when the Federal Reserve took over.
Yes. What do you think about the market? Do you think the market is artificially inflated due to the free money?
Yes and yes.
Yes and yes. So my question to you is, since we have this super high inflation right now, we have a relatively high unemployment. People still don't want to go back to work. We have a labor shortage that's been going on now for about the last year. We have all kinds of different chip shortages in some of our biggest industries, such as automobiles, such as computers and other things that we have demanded our digital economy to. We need semiconductors. We just need them. And yet we make very few here. And most of them are made in Taiwan and other places overseas. I see the fact that we're so dependent on them now, and other countries as well, that I see China going into Taiwan sooner or later here, maybe sooner, and making a bid to take that country, only to see if the United States blinks. If we don't blink, we're done. I'm of
the mindset that wars are coordinated at this point. These people are going to have trouble getting their citizens to go to war against each other, because the scam is starting to be, people are waking up to what's going on.
Yeah.
And basically the perpetualness of war. Think about the war we just supposedly exited.
Yeah.
$2 trillion. Okay. Yep. Now you say 2 trillion, that just totally obfuscates what's really going on. If you break it down, 20 years divided, or $2 trillion divided by 20 years, that's 365 times 20 for days. If you divide it by that amount of days, you get 300 million per day. Now the US can do a lot of things. Oh, sorry, hang on. I got my wife's phone ringing.
Pause here.
Casmera. Hey, my daughter's on the show. First time ever. All right.
No. Go.
Okay. So sorry, my daughter called on anyway. So we're talking about the 2 trillion. So 2 trillion is 2 million millions. I know that's hard for a brain to wrap its mind around, but if you divide it and make it a daily cost, it's 300 million per day.
Right.
So think about what the US government could do with 300 million per day rather than spend it on killing people and trying to coerce people to do what they want in a foreign country.
Right.
Why are we in wars that aren't, we're the only thing we should be worried about is protecting our country. That's it.
Well, here's the thing. Afghanistan is rich with raw material, with rare earth. Okay.
So
they never went after it. They never went after it, but it's there. But it's on it, and it's a landlocked country. It borders Iran, who's another one enemy. It borders Pakistan, which has nuclear war. It borders China, which is one of our per se
compadres now,
yeah, but still are,
they're our best friend. Let's stop pretending that our government's not in bed with them.
Right.
The Biden's over there, slapping hookers and doing what God knows what over there. And then you got Chinese spies in our government that are marrying. It's just come on.
Yeah.
Though all of these people are working together. Let's not problem. Pretend our government's not involved with this.
No, exactly.
They're one of the leaders.
Exactly.
That's why Trump's not here today. Trump was not playing along with this globalist thing.
No.
And Trump may be an a-hole, but he was our a-hole, and he would have probably made it less worse. He's still, fascist and a king, or he wants to be a king, but he's better than the freaking Sleepy Joe Wilson just letting them all come in.
Oh God, yes.
Come on in. The water's warm. We're boiling the frogs anyway here. I don't even know what's going on. My name's Joe, and that's all you need to know.
That's it. It's absolutely. But let me
He's a camera puppet is all he is.
Oh yeah. Real quick, if you were to start investing right now and you were a young investor, and that's all you needed to do was to put your money in stock, what particular 5 stocks would you say would never go away? So what I'm trying to say is if you had a 30-year horizon, all right, 30 years, you're 25 years old and you want a 30-year horizon. Okay. But you knew that there was going to be lots of trouble between now and that 30 years. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs. What would you buy? I want you to name me 5 companies that you would own that whether it was nuclear war, whether there was a military coup, any kind of black swan event that would happen. But what would be the 5 companies that humans would still have to have in order to survive?
I can give you that, but I got to give you a caveat. You have to, just like my late great used to be #1 guy says, you have to buy in homework and you got to circle the wagons in downtime. So it's better to cut your losers after, 5 years rather than to cut your winners to buy dollar cost average into your losers. So that being said, the #1 right now is because I trust the guy at the helm is Mr. I've already reiterated, or that's what I said a while ago. That's what I just threw all my kids stuff into. That's MSTR Micro Strategies.
Okay.
And that's Michael Saylor, one of the smartest guys in the space, that predicted the Apple, Google, and Amazon and, the FANG stocks and all that. He was way ahead of that. But that's my #1 pick. Obviously, I have all my kids' portfolios in it, so I'm not a financial advisor in any way, shape, or form. So I am giving you financial advice. So take it for what it is worth, because I'm not asking you for any money for it. But that's what my kids are in. And then my wife, she's still in the Chipotle, Amazon, and just, I think, Peloton. But I'm not really recommending anything on a 30-year basis, because I think we're going to have such a churning change in the next 20 years that it would be really hard to pick a company that's going to be around in 30 years.
Well, for instance, would you think Apple would be around in 30 years?
No.
All right.
Apple will not. They just bent the knee, and their company's going to start sliding lower. I could be wrong about that. It could go up for another 5 or so years or whatever. But as the decentralization happens, which is inevitable, that's kind of how Apple won. That's how they got.
What about the Chevrons and the Exxon Mobils of the world?
Mm,
Natural gas.
yeah, that's going to be around. I don't, those, you're probably just going to own something that morphs into a bigger something, or they get broke up and you end up with a lot of little pieces, which is even better. But as I said, you got to watch the space and don't get stuck in a loser that ends up dissolving into nothing, because you got, corporate bigwigs milking the company. And,
right.
Like a GM or these companies that have made, so much business, but yet lost value for their shareholders.
Right.
Because just because a company is going to be around forever doesn't mean it's going to benefit you.
Right.
They got to be shelling out either growth, which is what you want as a young investor, or they got to be shelling you dividends.
Right.
And right now, there's no better investment than, what's happening in the financial world as far as currency changing.
Right.
It's a monetary revolution of magnitude we've never seen. Nobody's ever seen, and nobody knows what. I don't even know. I don't know how it's going to unfold, but I know it's unfolding as we speak. I mean, tomorrow a country just adopted a new currency that's only 12 years old.
Yeah.
It's a global currency already. They didn't adopt something new. This is a global currency that's gaining disturbing amount of traction because it's viable and makes sense.
Right.
It's math. You can't argue with math. Yeah. Math just looks at you like, okay, I'm not a person, I'm not a thing, I'm an abstract. You lose. I'm math. Right. And that's what Bitcoin is. It's computer protocol. It's somebody wrote a code that is indestructible. It's impervious.
Right.
And it ties money, time, energy all into one. Whereas fiat is just, a fake paper representing a fake tie to gold, manipulated and, run by bureaucratic madness. Really. I mean, fiat's just lost.
Yeah.
It's not going to win.
Exactly. I think so. I think down the line, you're right. I just hope that, I don't know that the dollar could lose. I think the dollar could struggle quite a bit here in the next couple of years under this administration until we get some better policies that can keep our enemies at bay and our friends around the world to make sure that we don't, that they can trust us. Because once that trust goes away.
The trust is gone.
Like you said, they're all in cahoots anyways.
Government is gone.
Yeah.
They trust, there's people of other countries. Basically, it's plebs versus oligarchs. This is the revolution. It's not an American revolution. You predicted the revolution, but it's a worldwide revolution. Yes. And it's nonviolent, it's monetary, and it's plebs versus oligarchs, the haves and the have-nots. Now we get to keep all 100% of our labor. 100%. I go build a house. You get none. I built it. I get the fruits of my labor. I sell it for Bitcoin. Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's true.
Depending where it's at, obviously. Right. Men with guns will confiscate your house.
That's correct.
Still, this day and age, we are still in the year 2021. So there are men with guns that will confiscate your house.
Right. Well, we're going to wrap things up here real quick and get to a few things. So I really like what you said about some certain stocks that I think will never go away. And I do believe that it is companies like Exxon Mobil, natural gas, energy companies, things that we need in this world to survive. Food, water, cell phones. I don't believe cell phones will ever go away. E-commerce. I don't believe e-commerce is going away. So I do believe that there's a lot of there's some companies out there that are viable as far as owning for the next 20 years, maybe. Maybe I took a 30-year look at it, but that's the way I see it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like you said, and as long as they're paying dividends in order for you to reinvest and at least have some type of steady, while you're waiting, especially if we take a downturn here. But yeah, when it comes to the Fed, and that's something I think we'll talk about next week, is I'd really like to get into you. You read the book, and did you not read the book, the
Creature.
Creature from Jekyll Isle?
I read halfway through it, maybe more, but I think I threw it out with the rest of my junk after but I can go get it and browse through it again, brush up on it. But I heard an interview with Mr. Griffin. He was on John Ballas's Rapid Fire Bitcoin show. He's got a good podcast. I met him in the Bitcoin conference, but
yeah,
he had a good show with him.
Well,
or no, actually it wasn't him. It was Ghost of Svetsky with him. He's the one who had him on, and I mistakenly told him how much I met that John Vallis guy, and I mistakenly said how much I liked that show with Edward Griffin.
all right.
He goes, that wasn't me, that was Ghost of Svetsky. I was like, oh, sorry, but that was good.
Well,
but he has a good show. Both of them have good shows.
Well, we're going to wrap things up, folks.
Yep.
I want to thank everybody for listening. We're going to try to get back to you next week, and we'll see how things go here in the next couple of weeks. We've got some CPI reports, I think, that are going to be really coming up here in the next. This is really going to be a telltale month, I think, for as far as the labor market is concerned. The inflation that's just continues to haunt us day after day. And inflation doesn't hurt rich people, folks. It hurts the middle class. It hurts the poor, the people that the government claims to want to protect. It hurts the most. That's what's so stupid about it. We're here for you. We're going to take care of you. That is absolutely incredible. Don't worry about it. Gas prices went up 15%. You'll be okay. You'll be fine. Your food just went up 10%, 20%, 30%. Don't worry about it. You're going to be just fine, because we're going to get rid of that. And that ain't going to happen. So, folks, I'm going to let you go right now. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week. And by the way, if you'd like to get a hold of me, you can Twitter me at Ileana Mike, or if you'd like to have a conversation on Twitter, you can go to my good friend Bitcoin for President and Twitter him, and he will Twitter you back. All retweets are welcome.
It's Golf Winch, not Bitcoin for President.
What's that?
Golf Winch is my handle. Golf Winch is my handle, actually.
Golf Winch is his handle. Give him a tweet, and I'm sure he'll tweet you back. Folks, we'll see you next week. Thanks.
All right, take care.